Good morning. My name is Rob Stromberg. This is the First Baptist Church of Irwin, Tennessee's virtual Sunday school class for September 20th, 2020. We are still studying in Exodus, and we will be in Exodus 16 this morning, verses 2 through 15. I will be reading from the New American Standard Version, which was first given to me by a youth pastor, by a young couples pastor in 1975. Exodus 16:2. And the whole congregation of the sons of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the sons of Israel said to them, would that we had died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, when we ate bread to the full, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full, for you have brought us out into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them whether or not they will walk in my instruction. And it will come about on the sixth day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather. So Moses and Aaron said to all the sons of Israel, at evening you will know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, for he hears your grumblings against the Lord. And what are we that you grumble up against us? And Moses said, this will happen when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening, and bread to the full in the morning. For the Lord hears your grumblings, which you grumble against him. And what are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, say to all the congregation of the sons of Israel, come near before the Lord, for he has heard your grumblings. And it came about, as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the sons of Israel, that they looked towards the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard the grumblings of the sons of Israel. Speak to them, saying, at twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread. And you shall know that I am the Lord your God. So it came about at evening that the quail came up and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the layer of dew evaporated, behold, on the surface of the wilderness there was a fine flake-like thing, fine as the frost on the ground. When the sons of Israel saw it, they said to one another, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, it is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. This event occurs 45 days or so after they had crossed over the sea. Crossing over the sea obviously was a massive miracle that would have obviously led them to feel comfortable with God. As a matter of fact, in chapter 15, there's a whole song of praise of God after that happens. 3 days after that, they start grumbling, or as I think King James murmuring that they don't have God provides water. They find water and it's bitter, and God provides a way for Moses to purify the water. And this again is 45 days after that, or so. It states it's the 15th day of the second month after they left Egypt, so it may be a little closer than that. But after seeing both these incredible miracles, they start to complain again. They complain at Moses and Aaron, but their real complaint is with God. It's so easy for us to complain about human beings when we don't feel like we're being treated right, or when we don't feel satisfied. It's so easy for us to complain that it's this person's fault, or that fault, when we should really be looking inside ourselves to check out our relationship with God. So they complain mightily. God could have had a different response. In other parts of the Exodus story, he has a different response to people who grumble. But this time he calls Moses, and he says, Moses, I've heard the grumbling. It is against me, but I'm going to fix it. I'm going to give them bread every day and meat every day, so that they can be satisfied. They will after this have meat and bread every day for 40 years. Now they don't know now it's going to be that long, but they will have this plenty for 40 years. Kind of reminded me on a lighter side. I don't know whether any of you are recall the children's book that we at least read to our children. It was called Bread and Jam for Frances. Frances would only eat bread and jam. So rather than complain to her about it, her mother just said, okay, you can have bread and jam every day for every meal. It's not long till Frances realizes that's not as satisfying as she thought it would be. Sort of on a lighter note, I don't know whether I would like to eat the same exact thing every day for the rest of my life, but that's what they had. They could take this manna, and that's what the Hebrew word is for what is it. So they could take this manna and they could bake it, they could make cakes out of it. And so that's where they start on this story. They're complaining at Moses and Aaron, and that they brought them out here to die. And their first thought is, we had a lot in Egypt. We were better off. We at least had meat to eat. And one thing I was reading said, we We had bread to the full. It was so much better. That's typical of humans. We humans always glorify the past. The past was always better than it is now, but that's usually not true. Now that's a good defense mechanism that we use so we don't get the past too caught up in our current lives, and we don't worry and struggle over what happened in the past. You know, our brains do that on purpose, but we always glorify the past and think I've never been worse off than I am now. So it kind of reminds me that this is something that Kobe has said often. We think of the times now when we're all stressed in COVID and all these things that are happening, and we think back, well, weren't we happy and carefree back last January? And it was a different time, but we had all the same troubles. They just don't seem as pressing now as they did then. So they start to say we're so much better off in Egypt, and we had all this bread, and it's probably not true. They weren't better off, I know, but they probably didn't have all the food they wanted either. So they're just glorifying the past, and then they say, and Moses, you brought us out here to kill us, to starve us to death. Well, of course, Moses didn't bring them out, and that's really the whole point of this story, is developing faith in God. God brought them out of Egypt. Moses was his servant. Moses was his hands and feet on the ground, but God brought them out. And so now, but again, they've taken personalized everything. Moses, you brought us out. You brought us out here to die. That's one reason God is so careful here to glorify Moses in this miracle. He wants Moses to be the one to announce it, make sure that people understand it is of God. And so after this grumbling, God says, I have heard your grumblings, and so I'm going to give you this manna and quail meat. That word can also be translated flesh. But there's a catch here, and there's a purpose. Not only is God going to give them manna and quail, but he's only going to give them enough for one day. So the underlying theme of this story is having trust in God. You know, we hear Christ tell us to pray in his prayer, give us this day our daily bread. And when I look at my refrigerator and my freezer, obviously I do not rely upon that, but he wants us to. And in our lives in general, we should be reliant upon him only. And so here, God wants the people to realize they have to trust him. They have to have faith that when they go to bed at night and there's no more food in the house, that there will be food in the morning. So it's I think it was Buber who wrote, you have to have a leap of faith in order to trust God. There has to be some time when you just say, okay, God, I'm going to trust you, period. And there can't be, God, tell me why, tell me how. No, there just has to be this first leap to say, okay, God, I'm going to trust you to do what you say you will do. So this whole passage is God teaching the people how to trust. Now we will read after this that the people still don't trust him, because he wants them just to pick up enough for that day. Well, there are people who say, "Well, I'm smarter than that. I'll pick up enough for 2 days." And what happens to it that night? It becomes maggot infested. So it's an act of trust, to trust God only, to give you what you need. Give us this day our daily bread. Moses gathers the people together to tell them what God will do for them. And at that point, God appears brighter in the cloud. You might say this is God putting a punctuation on what Moses is telling them. It's from me. I told Moses this is what I wanted him to say. That's what that cloud glow means in verse. I'm sorry, I've lost the verse. Anyways, so when he appears in the cloud, the people look up, and one word can mean turn around and look into the wilderness, into the cloud, and here God's glory is shown brighter when Moses is telling them this. And as in Egypt, Moses tells Aaron to tell the people. Aaron is his spokesperson. God tells Moses what he wants Moses to tell the people, and then Aaron tells the people. And it happened as God promised. That evening, quail came to the camp, enough for everyone to eat what they needed. The next morning, dew came, which turned into bread. We don't know exactly what manna is. You can read a lot of natural explanations for it. It's the excretion of a plant or something, but that's not really critical for this story. This story is about trust and faith. Can we trust to provide for us everything that we need? That's not easy. We have times when we want to rely upon just ourselves, and that's not good. God needs to be first. He wants us to see his glory and to trust him in all that we do. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.